Tucked away among the Dead Sea Scrolls is one of the most intense documents you can possibly imagine. Now, we're not just talking about some ancient manuscript. This thing is a highly detailed military manual for a final 40-year apocalyptic war. This is the War Scroll, and it's basically the ultimate battle plan for a cosmic showdown between the forces of good and evil. And the scroll, it wastes zero time. It kicks right off with this stark declaration of war. There's no negotiation, no preamble. It's just two sides locked in a collision course for a final confrontation. The Sons of Light versus the Sons of Darkness, the army of a figure called Belial. That one sentence right there sets the stage for an absolutely epic conflict. So, okay, the first big question is obvious. Who exactly are these heroes, these Sons of Light? The scroll is actually very specific. And, to really get who they are, you have to understand the mindset of the community that wrote this. A community that pretty much saw themselves as the last pure remnant in a totally fallen world. Well, according to the text, the Sons of Light are exiles from the core tribes of ancient Israel. But it's not really their family tree that defines them, it's their absolute unwavering devotion. They are the saints of the covenant, a people learned in the statutes and enlightened in understanding. For them, God's law wasn't just some old rulebook. It was their light, their fortress, the very thing that gave them their identity in a world they truly believed was lost to darkness. And of course, on the other side of this spiritual battlefield, you have their sworn enemies. And this isn't just a single rogue army. No, this is a massive, shadowy coalition of nations and spiritual forces, all united under one terrifying banner: the army of darkness, the hordes of Belial. What's really fascinating here is how the conflict is framed. It's like a perfect mirror of opposites. Where the Sons of Light walk in light, the Sons of Darkness work in shadow. Where one side upholds the covenant, the other tramples all over it. This whole worldview, it has no room for gray areas. It's a fundamental black and white battle between divine order and total chaos. One path is a shining light, the other is just stumbling around in the dark. And right at the heart of all this darkness is this figure, Belial. The name itself basically means wickedness or lawlessness. So in the world of the scroll, Belial isn't just some demonic general. He is the very idea of rebelling against God's divine order. He represents the very principle of turning your back on everything that is good and righteous. And Belial's army? It's huge. The scroll lists this whole confederation of Israel's classic enemies: Edom, Moab, Ammon, the Philistines, and this group called the Kittim of Ashur, who a lot of scholars think were actually the Romans. But, and this is so crucial, they're also supported by those who have violated the covenant. We're talking about insiders, people who turn their backs on the light. That makes this whole thing not just a foreign war, but a really bitter civil war too. You might think this would just be a prophecy about one big, chaotic final battle, but you'd be wrong. The War Scroll lays out an incredibly detailed 40-year military campaign. It has rules for everything: enlistment, battlefield formations, even what to carve on the war trumpets. This insane level of planning just shows how deeply they believed that divine victory required absolute human discipline and ritual purity. The army of the Sons of Light is structured with, divine precision. Command goes to the older, wiser men. The officers are in their prime, and the soldiers are young guys. But being physically ready wasn't enough. Not even close. Every single soldier had to be spiritually and physically pure, without any blemish, because, as the scroll says, holy angels are with them in battle. Even the rhythm of the war follows religious law, pausing every 7th year for the Shemitah, the sabbatical year. And this spiritual nature of the war, it pops up in every single detail. Even their equipment served a divine purpose. The trumpets they used to signal troops weren't just for communication. They were inscribed with these powerful declarations. A trumpet for an ambush read, "Mysteries of God to wipe out wickedness." This was a war they believed would be won with faith, just as much as with steel. So, all of this leads to a huge question. On one hand, you have the Sons of Light, a righteous but pretty small group of exiles. On the other, a massive coalition of nations and traitors. The odds seemed completely insurmountably stacked against them. So how in the world could they ever hope to win? The answer, which we find in another key text from those same caves, isn't about their own strength. It's all about a divine intervention. The entire tide of the war is turned by the arrival of a powerful heavenly champion, a figure named Melchizedek. This text, called The Coming of Melchizedek, describes him as this divine,
godlike being who descends to Earth to enact God's judgment. He's not just some mortal leader. He is a heavenly prince, arriving at the absolute climax of history to oversee the final atonement and freedom for the sons of light.
Exactly. Melchizedek is their ultimate weapon, their ace in the hole. He is the one who carries out God's vengeance. His divine mission is to personally shatter the power of Belial and free the sons of light from his grasp once and for all. He is the prophesied champion who guarantees that light will triumph over darkness.
So with Melchizedek's intervention, the war finally reaches its prophesied end. And the aftermath described in the scrolls isn't just about the fighting stopping, it's about the creation of something brand new. It's the dawn of a completely different world, a righteous kingdom built on the ashes of the old one.
The victory is total, absolute. The coalition of darkness is destroyed. Belial's rule is broken forever. The victorious sons of light get to return to a purified Jerusalem to start a new era of jubilation and joy. The scroll's ultimate promise is that in this new kingdom, Israel shall reign forever. It is the final triumphant payoff they were hoping for. So what are we left with? This powerful 2,000-year-old blueprint for the end of the world, born from a community's deep sense of hope and alienation. But is it just a historical curiosity, or is it something more? A timeless, powerful allegory for the struggle that exists not just between nations, but maybe within every human heart. That eternal battle between light and darkness.